Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Photographer Mindset Podcast. I'm your co-host, Seth Macy.
I'm your co-host, Aaron Manis. Ready, guys?
Yeah, I'm always ready, man.
All right.
I gotta get my hat on.
So
Did you know when I was... Sorry, I have to tell you one thing. Did you know that when I was 3 years old, I thought that a hat was called a hat on? My mom always said, put your hat on. So as a young child learning language, I said, I need my hat on. But thought that the actual object was called a hat on.
That's funny.
I just thought that I would provide that ridiculously irrelevant story for y'all.
I love it. That's wonderful.
That's a good way to start. I'm the only one without a hat today.
It's because you have beautiful hair.
Yeah.
You know, it's in a middle phase, so I've been wearing a hat a lot because I'm just not quite comfortable with where it's going. But
are you a gel guy? I can't.
No, right now it's just a clay. It's a clay.
Just greasy, right?
Oh, nice.
Clay and a little bit of water after my
so
walk with the dog. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This guy's earthy.
Flow. Gotta keep the texture. You don't want it too frizzy.
Right on.
Anywho, I digress. We have Corey with us on the podcast today. She has a really incredible business and niche in photography, which I don't think many of us see too much. And it's always caught me as a very wow, what a great business model, and especially for someone that loves outdoors like myself, like Seth, like Corey, a great way to see the world, capture people's special moments, and do it while making a living. So with that said, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and introduce her business, and we'll get the conversation started. I do want to have a shout out to Hillary, our social media manager, who recommended Corey a little while back, and I've been following since. And yeah, she's on the show. So Hillary doesn't even know that this is happening.
She's going to ask for more money now, though, because she's doing socials and client outreach.
Yeah, that's right.
Guest outreach, rather.
I can hear her squeal right now in excitement.
I love that connection. It's so great. Thank you, Hillary. Oh my gosh. I love it that we're finally meeting. She told me about you too. And I started following your podcast, and here we are today. I love that. Yay. Yeah. All outdoor lovers. We love to protect those public lands, right?
I actually lie. I hate the outdoors. This is all for the last 5 years.
It's horrible. Oh my gosh. It's like the worst place in the world.
Yeah. It's healing. I have a t-shirt that says nature's my medication, which I do feel is true. And anytime I spend time out there, it is a reminder of that. Like, oh, this is what I've been missing. Oh, it's been too long since I've been out here without the hustle and bustle of just modern life, I think.
That's why I always say nature is my church. I need to go to church, and that is outdoors, you know?
Yes. So how'd you get started? Please tell us and the listeners about your life, your business, your start in this, and how we got to this point.
Yeah, thanks. So I got started when I was a kid. My dad had a Minolta film camera that he let me borrow, and they were also gardeners. So we went in the garden and I photographed the natural world there. I used to go hunting with my dad, and so always had that outdoor connection, and I loved animals, horses, things like that. And so I always had like a digital point and shoot through the years. I bought my first DSLR in 2009, Canon 7D, I think it was. I was dating a commercial photographer at the time, and he let me borrow his camera, and I was photographing bike races in Bethel, Connecticut. So, motion and things like that. And then I started working for wedding photographers as a second photographer because I wanted to move more into, making money with doing what I loved. So that's kind of how it all started.
Awesome. And what started? Where are you now? Explain your passion, your business model, what your Instagram's all about, which is called Elope with Corey. that gives a little bit of a hint, but go on.
Yeah. So which Instagram account? Because I have about 10.
Oh, geez. I'm looking at Elope with Corey. That's the one
My
that.
soul left the room. How do you manage 10 Instagram accounts?
Yeah.
You tell me you don't do it all yourself.
I do.
My soul's soul left.
Well, not only am I passionate about photography, but I really love marketing. I wanted to go to school when I was a kid for graphic design because I always loved art. And then I moved into massage therapy instead when I was working in the corporate world. And I love that career for 15 years. So one of my main things is I love to make people feel good and make a difference in the world. So I feel like with the massage therapy, that did that. And then again, with photography, it's making people feel good about themselves and get connected to nature. So yeah, it's such a powerful healing art tool. So yeah, I think the whole marketing and social media thing, I know a lot of people are overwhelmed by it, but I actually thrive off of it. Yeah, you are, huh?
Me pointing.
Yes.
I know I've taken us off course, but that was just I'm sorry that floored me. We'll get back, I promise, Aaron. I know you were.
Yeah. No.
Hillary's actually my spirit animal. I wish I could be more like Hillary. She's so
How
cool.
do you thrive off of social media? Let me ask you that question, because you're talking to two people, I think, who get pretty drained of it pretty easily. Listeners know we talk about it a lot.
Yes.
And I love that we have people on like yourself who are like, hey, I run 10 Instagram accounts and I feel refreshed. I feel energized. I'm happy with what I'm doing. We have people who say, I don't touch that with a 10-foot pole, and everywhere in between. So kind of explain that.
I thrive off of creating and sharing the natural world with people. So when I can share like what the passions are about, protecting public lands is huge right now in our country. With so much going on, I'm just really trying to spread the word about that. And not only as an elopement photographer, because we get to elope freely in national parks or public lands. If these things are taken away, not only is like outdoor activities taken away, but also access to have the best wedding venue in the world, and you don't have to pay for it like you do, a place that has 4 walls and a roof, right? I mean, you might have to pay a park fee or a permit, but it's nowhere near the cost of eloping outdoors. So, and I had started my elopement photography back, I wanted to start in 2017, but it wasn't until the pandemic in 2020 that I was able to help my wedding couples pivot their weddings and said, why don't you keep your date and elope instead? And then we'll reschedule your big wedding for when the pandemic is over. So I did a whole bunch of hustling and pivoting during that time to help couples pivot, but about half of my couples did keep their original date. And then they were like, we're so glad we eloped. It was like not stressful, and you made it like super easy. And that's pretty much what I hear from all of our couples, And
that's an interesting point there. Again, I think there's two camps around, especially the pandemic and the photography business or videography business, content creation. There's the camp that's like, what a tragedy. Yes. What a disaster, ruined my business. And then there's another camp that's like, I have to pivot with this because I guess this could happen at any time. Yeah. Really, like this is interesting in a sense that, whoa, like this was not something that was on my radar in terms of my business and moving forward. My 10-year plan had none of this. I suppose this could happen again. I need to be COVID proof, pandemic proof. How can I do that? And you took a situation where you could easily have been like, well, I guess our weddings are done for this year. I guess I'm done maybe for the whatever. What else can I do? And you took it as a, hey, let's do this instead. We're able to do this. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the business flowing. And then it's created into your thing.
And especially on the East Coast, right? Like most elopements, they're known out on the West Coast in the big national parks, in the mountains, Colorado and things like that. So East Coast was very little known about eloping, right? And and I love a good creative challenge. And so it was definitely stressful for me and for the couples, but I also like to help my couples ease the stress in their life. So, that's one of my gifts, is to help people elope with ease, to empower them to think differently, to approach life differently, and also to have more of an appreciation for nature and introduce them to something that they might not have seen before, you know? Like when I go out, like say for a hiking elopement, I'll do plant identification and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very fun. It sounds, in terms of a wedding, right up my alley. What I would like to do.
Heck
Be in
yeah.
nature with the people you love, a small group, and none of the hubbub, right? Like all the extra stuff. Like, oh,
And
you
the
want what
waste.
you want? Yeah,
So much
it's
waste
a great
in
point.
weddings. Food, plastic, flowers, all of that jazz. Yeah. And this way you can invest in your future together, however that looks for you as a couple. So for some couples, it might be a home. Other couples, it might be travel and experience. I find more and more people nowadays care less about things and they want more memories and experience. And so travel is a huge part of that for couples, I feel like,
Yeah. So when
and not just
you're
couples, but individuals.
when you're approaching a new couple, I assume at this point too, couples come to you with this idea based on your marketing and what you're showing that you offer. They're coming to you. Do they typically have a place in mind, or is it almost like a menu where you're like, these are my favorite places. These are the places I like to travel and go to. Or can someone come to you and say, I want to go anywhere in the world, and you're the tag along that's going to make this happen?
Yeah, so it really depends on the couple. And because of my marketing and SEO and my love for that kind of thing, and, continuing education and being in mastermind photographer programs and doing my own self-study, and listening to podcasts like yours and other, teachers and mentors out there, I was able to figure out how to get myself in different locations. So I have my main website, and then I build landing pages for each of the locations that I target. So Acadia National Park, Grand Teton National Park. Where else do I have? Dolomites in Italy.
Wow.
The places that I want to be, I've planted my seeds and I blog a lot. So that way people find me on Google, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, all of those platforms. And especially now with AI and ChatGPT, when you type in a search, best elopement or best places to elope in the US, my blog is like one of the top ones that comes up, and I list all the different places. And then I do hire a blogger and Pinterest manager. So we blog about once a month together. So all of those things help. And then tying it back into what you said, most couples know, they're like, yeah, we want to elope in Acadia. Can you help us plan our day and find the best locations within the park? And that's when I help them plan based on, Google Earth, when the sun rises, when it sets. And I also like to avoid the crowds. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Question. So you're blogging, you're planning with couples, you're photographing these couples, you're traveling to these places, you're managing 10 Instagram accounts. What in your life is sacrificed for all of this?
Nothing. You know why?
How?
Because I have work-life balance.
How so? I'm asking you to say more, because it sounds like maybe somebody who doesn't know you, that it's like work, all of it.
So I'm passionate about what I do, and I don't mind working hard. I do believe in work-life balance. So, one of the beautiful things about not photographing weddings anymore is that I have my weekends back to spend with my husband. I don't work weekends. I play
Okay.
on the weekends. You know, he's a teacher, a musician. He's also an officiant in the summer times, and he officiates the things. So weekends, you know, I don't work like I work Monday to Friday. And I'm an early riser and I'm early to bed. And my most creative time of day, I really know myself. So I do my work when my brain works the best in the morning. And then the afternoon, I kind of plane out. And every day I try to get outside, get my exercise, do my Kundalini yoga in the morning to like give me energy, build that life force. You know, I am not perfect. I go through phases with that. But eat well, get my rest. I try for 8 hours. I don't get 8 hours all the time, but you know, just do my best to be outside and take computer breaks. Go outside and garden and pull some weeds when it's been too much for me on the computer. And when I move my body in nature and go on my 4-mile walks, I actually get more ideas. It like releases a stagnation in our bodies and our minds, and it releases stress. And then, you know, you get the what is it, serotonin or dopamine hits because you've moved your body, you know? So,
Yeah, many people, you know, say and know that you heal the mind with the body by movement.
yes.
So I appreciate your answer. That sounds like I work very, very hard in deliberate times and purposefully not at all in other times.
Yes. And I outsource when I need to.
Correct.
You know,
yeah.
definitely outsource. I hire people to help me with, say, video editing. When
Nice.
I shoot Super 8, I ship off the video to be edited. I'd say my biggest hang up is editing. You know, like I love getting sneak peeks out right away, and that's really easy for me. But then, you know, it sits there while I'm doing all of my other stuff. But I do have a good, you know, boundary and timeline return for my couples. So all the timelines get met, you know.
Cool.
And I don't overbook. I don't overbook myself.
Is that a common thing in this industry? I don't think Aaron and I know.
Yes. People, one, they don't charge enough, and they overbook and they undersell themselves.
Speak to those people for us if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're starting out, of course, you're going to undercharge because you're like, oh gosh, I'm just starting out. I don't know what I'm doing. And I guess my advice would be to work with a mentor, to second shoot as a photographer for weddings and get the hang of things, or even get a mentor for elopements if you don't want to do weddings and you want to, you know, say shoot elopements and figure out how to do all that. It's not just shooting elopements, it's planning it, it's location scouting, it's a lot, it's marketing, it's everything. So I see a lot of people hustling and burning out. I've been photographing elopements solidly for 5 years. So since the pandemic, I've had my photography business since 2015 legally. I started in 2012 photographing weddings. So I feel really confident about what I do in, you know, skills or whatever. And I want to create like a really unforgettable like client experience. It goes beyond photography. To me, it's like the whole package, right? So
right. I think that's important. And I think Adam Coppola, who we had on the show, another Connecticut photographer, he does a lot of commercial stuff, just talked about how much more there is than just the photography. I think when you're creating a photography business and you're offering a product, it's not just the photos. It's the communication, it's the planning, it's the searching sunrise and sunset. It's all of that stuff. And I'm curious for you and your business, is that all thought into the price as you're looking at all that you're offering as part of your business? versus underselling yourself and saying like, oh, what should photography cost? Because it's way more than wedding photography or
Okay.
a marriage photography. It's all this other planning. Hey, I have an officiant. I have someone that does music. They're great. They'll bring their guitars on this hike. Like, knowing all the stuff is saving them tons of time. And time
tons of time, Google research, like literally curating an experience for them. Like, my Airbnb lists, my places to eat. Like, I have like a client portal that used to be in Google Drive, and this year I up-leveled it to Notion. I basically taught myself how to use Notion. I'm not perfect, but I think technology is really cool. I've always been interested in it since I was younger. So there's so much that we can use all the time. And like, I use ChatGPT all the time to help me, and I have custom profiles based on what I'm producing. So whether it's for elopements or my brand and my rentals, like if I'm going to photograph like an Airbnb somewhere or, a rental property, like that language is different than the way I talk to my couples, because I know who my ideal client is, or ideal client avatar in ICA. And I have created things that I just speak to who they are and what their values are and what they cherish and things like that. So I really try to speak to that,
Is developing, what did you call it? ICA?
ICA, it's called an ideal client avatar. It's knowing who your customer or your client, or for me, my couples, who they are as people, what they like to do, where they spend their time, all of that. And, you could go into ChatGPT and say, what is an ICA, right? And, for my line of work, what does that look like? And I've paid people who are really experts on ChatGPT and how to talk to an audience, right? So there's courses that you can take that aren't that expensive that really help you up level what you're doing. Like even you guys could use it for, your audience and who you're talking to. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I have two questions here. Well, actually, one is a question, and the other one is a follow-up to what you just said. The first question is, so your avatar, are you building that entirely off of doing research and using ChatGPT, or is it built entirely off of anecdote and your experience with previous clients?
Ding, ding, ding. Yes, the latter. So I have questionnaires that I send to my couples to get to know them better, more personally, to make their experience like, I could ask them, hey, what do you guys like to do on the weekends when you're not working? Like, what does a typical weekend look like? Is it Netflix and chill? Are you foodies? Do you like to go out and eat? Or do you like to cook? Right. Are you a knitter? Are you a gravel biker? Are you a fisherman or a hunter? Whatever it is, right? So knowing them better, like what their hobbies are, how they spend their time, it's basically what marketers use to get into the mindset, like the photographer mindset, to get into the mindset and put yourself in the shoes of your couple or your client, and then how to answer their questions and how to problem solve for them, how to answer their questions on your website before they even have to ask you. And then they look at you as the expert because you know what they want and what they need. So you literally have to get into the mind of other people. And it's taken me a long time to get to where I'm at. So.
See, this is so interesting. The second part that I was going to say based on, you said, hey, you guys could use this. I agree with you. The thing that I'll speak for myself, that is it's a bit of a dichotomy for me, is that I like to try and make episodes, content surrounding this show, this brand, whatever you want to call it, that I like, that I would listen to. And I try to often ignore what everybody wants or what would be the ideal thing that my target audience would want to hear. That sounds like a terrible marketer. And I agree with you. But I think in our instance, we potentially often run into you could run into the, I don't want to say issue, but maybe it could happen all by itself by accident, where you're just making content that's designed to hit that you're not necessarily passionate about. We're talking apples and oranges here because your business model is obviously different from what we do. But I just kind of like, that's often what goes through my head. Like, hey, I want to talk about this. I hope people like it, as opposed to, there have been times where Aaron and I have been like, let's speak to those people. And other times where it's just more of a, hey, let's talk about what we want to. But I think we do often struggle with that. And knowing your audience can be hard. You can only understand so much from looking at data and numbers and what does well and what doesn't and who you speak to. I think who you speak to, the people we've had a chance to go on retreats with and do one-on-ones with and just talk through Instagram DM, that's more valuable, I think, than any metric I've ever stared at.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you are being authentic. I'm being authentic. Everything that I share and I produce and, things like that is from the heart, and it is my truth. And I'm not doing it to people please anyone or to perform for anyone. Everything is coming directly from me and my interests in sharing the passions, but it's just mirroring I'm finding my people. I'm finding my niche, right? And there are so many different people in the world, and this world is so abundant that there are enough people for us and what we do in our profession. There's enough to go around for everyone. Just like having that abundant mindset is so important. So it's not living in fear that it's never going to be enough or it's not the right thing. And how to engage your audience is do polls on your stories, ask them questions. Like polls, I tend to get a lot more engagement from people. Make it easy for people, like have a couple different answers. And, those are some fun ways to engage your audience. And you're not just speaking at them. You're not just, you're actually trying to get them to, come to you with an answer.
Yeah. And I think the difference is what you've just described is you're trying to align with each other. You are your authentic self. People are who they are. And you're trying to symbiotically align nicely in a way that matches both your value sets. I think where people can often get into trouble is they change to align with what others want.
Yeah, no.
Right? So I'm going to do stories so that I align with people. Or I'm going to do polls so that that people engage with me, as opposed to I want to see where we meet in the middle.
Yep. And you know what? And I've created polls and people haven't answered. And you know what? I still enjoy the process anyways. I still enjoy creating anyways. I still do it anyways, even if people don't answer. And that's fine.
You can keep on scaffolding down to just find out certain things. Like it's within the genre of eloping. And like if people say, I'd rather not hike and elope and I'd rather get, married in a church, then that's not your client. And we're not dealing with that client, but we can say like, I'd rather not do a 10-mile hike. I think 6 is my max. And if you start finding out that 6 is the max, even though you're willing to do 10, you kind of adjust to your audience that fits your passion. So I think of like a folk singer who loves acoustic music, plays guitar and piano, and he's asking, do you guys like piano songs better or guitar songs? And most of his audience says piano. Then they might lean towards, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more piano with my audience. But if people say like, I'd rather you do hard rock or rap music, he's like, well, I'm not going to bend that far. Yeah. I am just trying to figure out what my people prefer. What are the preferences? Doesn't mean I'm going to do it necessarily, but I would like to know what the preferences are so I can plan the best for my people.
And the beauty of elopements too, Seth, is that you don't have to hike 10 miles or 6 miles or even 3 miles to have a beautiful outdoor elopement. I feel like elopements nowadays are way more accessible, and you don't have to be like crazy physically fit to have a beautiful outdoor elopement. Like, I make sure that I have places for people of all abilities to get to, and especially like when the family is involved, to find a ceremony spot where everybody can get there safely, right? And that hopefully nobody has issues with that. So.
Have you ever shown up to a spot and there's been somebody else eloping there?
For sure. Yeah. And that's why
Nice.
that's why I love sunrise ceremonies, because there's less people around. And I try to encourage my couples to do sunrise because, hey, you only get married once, and why not like have something like super incredible and memorable? Like, I think it's my favorite time of day. I think it's so worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shift a little bit, like there's other places. There's so much landscape. It's not hard, to find another location close by. So.
Yeah, makes sense. Rewinding a bit here, when I think I asked about what got sacrificed when you were doing all these things. This implies you have a tremendous level of focus during the hours that you're working. What does focus look like for you?
Focus. Well, I have my calendar and I just put like to do. And if I don't get it done today, I shift it over to tomorrow. So, like, focus. I get one thing done at a time, and I try not to scatter my energy. Like, if I'm editing photos, then just edit photos. Don't get on social media or email. Stay off of email. I put my phone in the other room, because that is a huge distractor. You get on that to go find someone, and then you forgot why you got on it in the first place, right? 15 minutes later, you're like down the rabbit hole. So I try to leave my phone in the other room when I work. It doesn't always happen, and that helps me to focus much better.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you had a protocol or how you structured prioritization in order to maintain that level of focus. It's interesting you tell me. You don't strike me as somebody who moves their to-do list to the next day consecutively or consistently.
Not the whole list, but like if it's like elopement planning or editing photos, because that always takes longer. So I'm like, it's okay. I'll get it done tomorrow.
I think it can be frustrating. I think there's a tendency for a lot of people to tomorrow becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow, becomes never.
Yeah, no. How to get the most done is to have a deadline. Make sure you have a deadline, and then we respond better. It's about, we respond to our environment. Like, if we don't have a deadline on something, then it's never going to get done. We have to give ourselves deadlines.
Yeah, I think is in the book Atomic Habits, I believe so, where people have been going so far as to institute a penalty alongside their deadline to, I guess, make the deadline the consequences of missing it more severe, which I found interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Gosh, I don't know if I'd respond to a penalty. I would definitely respond to an award. Oh, a reward, not award. Reward. I think, yeah.
What would that be?
Food is always good, or outside time. Like outside time is super rewarding for me. I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk after I get this done,
Yeah.
I find that if I don't get my walk in first thing in the morning, it might not happen in the afternoon. So I try to put myself first. Then when I have a full cup, then I can offer more to other people. And if I don't get my exercise in the morning, then I get a little cranky and resentful in the afternoon. So, it's important for me to know.
I think that's really important. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a really important point that we hit on every once in a while, and you'll see it around. Like, fill your cup first, or place the oxygen mask over yourself first before you help. Whatever the idiom is that you want to use. But I do think it's important. I think some people struggle with that. sacrificing themselves for others,
Mhm.
go as far as being a martyr. Uh, it doesn't help anyone the best that you possibly can. And I
Mhm.
think a stitch in time saves nine, in the sense of like doing the one thing that you need to do for yourself to be able to make it the whole day and give your best and feel good about the day. It's tough if you're not taking care of yourself in all the ways. In eating, in rest, in
Yeah.
exercise, all the things you mentioned, aiming for 8 hours of sleep, getting that morning walk in, if you know that's a absolute mood stabilizer for the rest of the day,
Mhm.
doing
And
those
what
things.
too, like, I think is huge that I haven't mentioned is gratitude, right?
Mhm.
Like, having gratitude for all the things that we do have. And then that really puts life into perspective, especially because we've all been through hard times, and it wasn't that long ago, and, that we had the pandemic and the
Mhm.
other things that were so challenging, and we're going through a lot of that now in our country. So,
Yeah.
you know, every day is a gift, right? It's what we do with it.
Yeah, and I heard, speaking of gratitude, even more than gratitude in terms of what it does for self is, what have you done for others lately?
Mhm.
And listing those and recognizing those. Where have you gone beyond me
Mhm.
to help nature, to help animals, to help people, to help a classroom, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
making sure you have a list of that you can do on sort of a regular basis, in terms of happiness or being content. Recognizing that, on top of gratitude, is definitely a good practice as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's where you do have to be careful. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that can go overboard and contradict the oxygen mask first thing if you focus too much on that. Do you know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah.
get to a point where I need to contribute help all the time, that's when I think you can run yourself thin and forget to look after yourself, if you run off the one end of the spectrum that you've just described.
Yeah, both. I would argue, I'd be a contrarian here, that there's been a shift in the spectrum of a little bit of selfish thinking, a little bit in a good way sometimes, but I think Western culture especially can get a little bit too, if it doesn't make me happy, then F the rest of the world
Yeah.
sort of
Mm.
thinking. And gratitude can be taken as like, I'm glad I have this Gucci purse. Like,
Oh, God.
gratitude can be taken in a different way than I think it's intended.
Mm.
I have a challenge for you guys. This is
Mhm.
something that I used to do that occasionally I do now. On the full moon, I have written 100 things that I'm grateful for. So that could be as simple as running water. The
Mhm.
sun came out today, or I have a bed to sleep in, or a roof, or my kitty cats, my husband, things like that. Like, keep it super simple, like the things that are right there. I have internet access. Holy shit, I have a computer that works. I have a career, or my cameras, or friends, or community.
Mhm.
Like, you can really go to town with the gratitude list.
When we edit this, we'll put your husband before the kitty
Oh,
cats.
sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
George knows he's numero uno.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think also, what did you say, Aaron? If it's not good for me, then F everybody else. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's not coming from
Like,
personal.
no. I understand that. You were saying that is like
For
thought that's
example,
creeping in maybe in current times.
Eastern culture, a lot of Asian cultures are very much me last, family, people that are important, maybe to the
Right.
other end of the spectrum where it can be self-harming in a sense of like, this is
I
just not fun.
I
And
find that with mothers.
Yes,
Mothers are I'm child free by choice,
mhm,
and I've never regretted that decision my entire life. And I find that mothers are always caretaking and looking out for the child and putting them before themselves, like don't get me in trouble for saying this. Maybe you want to edit it out. I don't know.
No, I don't think you're
Yeah.
wrong. I have a very good friend that she's a therapist, and her clientele is mothers that are struggling.
Mhm.
And I hear often about it, and it's stuff that, I think a lot of men don't see, or socially, we are kind of socially, not everyone, but you go to work, but the lion's share of child rearing and raising and setting up the birthday party, making sure lunches are made, making sure dinner's made, making sure the house is clean, doing the above and beyond. Not everywhere, but a lot of it. And by the way, now expected to work and contribute to income and bills and what have you.
Look hot too and be fit.
And look hot.
Oh my God, forget about
But
it.
there is definitely a lot of that, and I think mothers have a hard time because socially you are also judged among yourselves of keeping up with the Joneses and making sure this birthday party kicks absolute ass. There's a lot of stress with that is not seen by everyone equally, for sure. And I think it is important to do sort of an audit. And her advice sometimes with mothers is it's okay to drop the ball. Drop the ball.
Yeah, I dropped the ball in cleaning the house. Like, that is not a priority, and that's how I'm able to get so much done. There are sacrifices. You had asked me. The house isn't perfect. The yard's not perfect. Whatevs. Who cares?
Yeah.
Those aren't my priorities. Like, when you figure out what your priorities are, like, I'd rather spend time outdoors than cleaning the house, and that's quite all right,
Yeah. So back to outdoors, and I want to hear some. There must be encounters. Seth and I love wildlife.
Oh yeah.
Have there been any magical wildlife moments in the middle of
I wish
a ceremony, a hike up to where we're getting married, any sort of astrological event or I don't know. I'm just looking for
astrological event or an astronomical event.
Astronomical.
I
Or
think
stars.
more
Astrology.
astrology. Yeah, I love astrology. Not with couples. I haven't seen anything crazy. Birds will fly over at a certain time, during a ceremony, or like geese will cross over. I've seen bear on my own. There's bear in the yard all the time, but not usually around couples. Yes.
Yeah.
I was coming home the other day, like face to face with one. I'm like, okay, hi, black bear. I'm just going to go in the house now, Being out west, though, like in Grand Teton, we're heading there first 2 weeks in July. I'll get my bear spray just in case. So when we're out with couples, that I'll have some kind of protection just in case we run across any, animals that are just doing their thing. And it's like, just share the space and respect them and know what to do and back away slowly, and hopefully no problems.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Favorite park for you?
In the United States?
Yeah.
I would say Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton. Yeah. I just love like the mountains. And then there is like a lot of accessibility with the beautiful lakes and, flatter hiking trails. And then Acadia is like my second home. That's my primary market. My folks live in Maine. It's about 6 hours from me in Connecticut. And I'm there a lot. Like this year, I'll be there a total of 4 times. And I just expanded my team. I took on 2 other photographers for Acadia because I get so many inquiries and I can't be there all the time. So I've trained 2 other photographers to kind of see the world the way I do. And I handle the planning, the editing, and then they show up and shoot and turn over the photos to me.
That's awesome.
Are you selecting these photographers because you like their skill and their portfolio? And hang on.
Yeah. Okay.
And letting them do their thing, or are you asking them and requiring them to shoot in your style?
That's a great question. So my first person that approached me, I wasn't searching. She said, "Hey, Corey, can I work with you? I really don't want to plan anymore." And I had been following her on Instagram, and I saw that she sees the world the way I do. Like, she has a very similar aesthetic. And we met in person and we Zoomed and I got to know her. And then we went on a hike together in Acadia. And I was like, yes, totally in. Like, we talked about, boundaries and things like that and her pay. So then this past May, I had another photographer that reached out to me and said, "I'd love to be on your team." So I got all of us together and did 2 styled shoots so that we could all see how we see the world and we learned from each other. And I blended it all together. And I said, "This is what I learned from you and how you shoot. And this is how I shoot. And this is what I would like to see, like wide and tight, wide and tight." I'm very like storytelling cinematic. I want to tell something that looks like it came out of a movie, the whole story. So we're all learning and growing from each other. I think that's something as photographers that we have to offer. But when people see my website and they see my style of work, I have to be able to confidently say to people that hire us, when you hire this photographer or that photographer, you're going to get the same experience, client experience, and style of photography. So yeah, you sort of do have to train them un poquito, like just a little bit,
That's a really interesting.
What's that? Un poquito? What is that?
Poquito is a little.
Spanish. I don't even
You're
take
speaking
Spanish.
to a Canadian. I don't speak Spanish.
I
No
know
habla.
French.
Español un poquito.
Is it no habla?
No habla inglés. No.
All I learned was "Lo siento, mi español es no muy bueno" when I was in Spain. I just said that routinely.
Or "Donde es el baño," right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the bathroom.
Where's the bathroom?
Oh.
Sorry, I digress.
What I was going to say was, this reminds me, your explanation of hiring other people and learning from each other is, some of the best bands in the world have this magical chemistry that a songwriter brings a song to the table, and that the drummer or the bassist or the keyboards or the guitarist is able to add a riff or this or that or a sound and create this thing that's like how did Pink Floyd exist, or like the Beatles exist?
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin, that whole marriage that creates this thing, which I think the sum of the parts not always is greater than the one, but in the best cases, a team that can expand the vision and expand your style and the way that you see the world, you would think would create just a bigger juggernaut of a company.
Yeah. And I've worked for myself for so long, and I love working for myself because I know I'm going to get it right. Maybe not perfect, and that's okay. But I always strive to do my best and give the best experience based on what is given to me or whatever my surroundings are. So for me, this is very challenging. It's a little bit uncomfortable, being able to trust other people to deliver the same experience, the same papa that I have, the passion and also the photographs, the final product. Like I will edit them in my style, which people see, but will they see it and get it? Like the trust is huge, and not to go off and start their own business in that area that I've shared all my trade secrets. You know what I mean?
So how do you deal with, that's a lot of trust. That's not, that's more than editing in a sense. That's that's the end all be all in the sense of like, hey, if you forget your SD card or you drop your camera on this hike, like we're in trouble.
That's why you have 2 cameras just in case. Yeah.
But it is your business. So that's a lot of letting go. It's equal to Seth and I saying having 2 people record for us.
Yes.
And then us kind of edit through it and be like, we like that conversation. That was good. All right, let's put it out there. So it's giving the keys to the car in a big sense.
It's a huge growth opportunity for me. And I know this is like a new area where I'm growing another branch on my tree. I'm evolving. Like I always relate myself to a tree. Like, I'm growing, I'm reaching for the sky, and I'm, until I'm dead, I'm going to keep growing because I love to learn and do new things. I don't want to be stagnant in life. And I do want to challenge myself to those things that are a little uncomfortable. And I'm going to put my best effort in, and hopefully, fingers crossed, things work out well, but there is the risk that it might not work, or people might move on. And that's what happens when you work with other people, so
yes,
that just happens.
Of course. And that freed up time. I mean, like you said, 6 hours is not right next door to get up to Acadia or wherever you're going. To be able to do that and enjoy life and do the other things that need to get done is a huge benefit, I would imagine. It's the same as wonderful Hillary helping us out with an Instagram that if it weren't for her would be probably pretty stagnant, because we're doing as much as you can do and doing the other things. So it frees up space. And I guess at some point the benefit versus the sacrifice or the trust or the fear becomes outweighed, right? Where it's like if this goes well, even 90% of the time, it is worth it.
Oh yeah. And quality time is my love language, and spending that time with my husband. Otherwise, I'd be going up to Maine all the time, cause I don't want to say no to the awesome couples that inquire. And and sometimes they don't want to hire the team. They don't trust that the team will be the same. So I have to work harder at educating my audience for Acadia that you can trust us. And, so that's what I'm working on right now. That's the next evolution of my business. So and I've talked to George. I'm like, hey, do you want to move to Bar Harbor? And he's like, no, I'm a teacher here, So I'm like, shoot.
So you can take the cats and head up there.
Yeah, we got 2 kitties. Yep.
Cute. Any dogs?
No dogs, because dogs are like kids. They require you to be home a lot more. So
yes, they do.
I love dogs. I think they're great, but cats are pretty independent, and you can get a cat sitter easier. Yeah.
For sure.
What's one piece of advice you'd give your former photographer self?
To be true to yourself. I feel like that's really important. Just follow the beat of your own drummer. Find your passion, whatever that is. So for me, I love horses and fashion, and that's kind of how I started with my photography, is just photograph what you love often and keep doing it,
Perfect.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh yeah, it was a pleasure.
It was a great conversation and
stimulating.
Interesting and great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. It was so wonderful. We figured out how to make the podcasting word Zencasta.
Yeah. You have to say Zen with Zencaster sometimes.
Zen.
We should air that first 30 minutes of us troubleshooting.
Oh my gosh. Well, pleasure.
Did you restart it? Did you power on and power off? Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That's it. We'll probably end on that last question and answer. That's what we like to do.
Cool.
Beautiful.